My grandmother had skin that did not make sense. At 70, people assumed she was in her 50s. At 80, her face still had a quality that women half her age were spending hundreds of dollars a month trying to achieve. A smoothness, an evenness, a kind of quiet radiance that had nothing to do with makeup because she barely wore any. At 87, the last year I saw her regularly, her skin was still remarkable. Not perfect, not frozen in time, but remarkable in a way that made you look twice and wonder what she knew that the rest of us did not. She knew one thing, one ingredient, something she had used every single night since her 30s, not because she read about it in a magazine or saw it on a screen, but because her mother had done the same thing, and her mother before that. And at some point, someone in the family had figured out that this one simple ritual kept the skin on their faces softer, smoother, and more resilient than anything the beauty counter ever offered. The ingredient cost her less than $2. She bought it at the grocery store. She used it every night for over 50 years. And when I finally understood the science behind what she was doing, when I stopped dismissing it as an old-fashioned home remedy and started reading the published research on exactly what this ingredient does inside the skin overnight, I realized she had been doing something more sophisticated than most modern skincare routines, with a single ingredient at a fraction of the cost for her entire adult life. The ingredient is raw honey, and what it does to your skin overnight is not folklore. It is documented, peer-reviewed biology that explains exactly why my grandmother's skin looked the way it did, and exactly why yours can start changing the same way tonight. Welcome to Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women. Let's get into it. I need to tell you what raw honey actually is, because the word honey makes people think of a sticky sweetener that belongs in tea, not on their face. And that instinct is the reason most women have never taken this ingredient seriously, despite it being one of the most bioactive topical compounds available without a prescription. Raw honey, unfiltered, unpasteurized, straight from the comb, is not just sugar and water. It contains over 200 biologically active compounds. Enzymes, amino acids, organic acids, trace minerals, polyphenols, hydrogen peroxide generated continuously at low concentrations by an enzyme called glucose oxidase that activates the moment honey contacts the moisture on your skin. Methylglyoxal in certain varieties, flavonoids with documented antioxidant activity, a pH between 3.2 and 4.5, which is directly in the range of your skin's natural acid mantle. This is not a simple substance. This is a biochemical delivery system that nature spent millions of years refining, and that modern science has spent the last 3 decades documenting with increasing precision. Here is what happens when raw honey sits on your face overnight. Every mechanism I am about to describe is published in peer-reviewed literature. This is not tradition. This is biology. The first thing raw honey does is repair your skin barrier. The barrier, the stratum corneum, the outermost functional layer of your skin, is what determines whether your skin retains moisture or loses it, whether irritants penetrate or stay out, whether your face looks plump and luminous or dull and dehydrated. Every skin concern women over 35 deal with, fine lines, sensitivity, uneven texture, dryness that no moisturizer fully resolves, traces back to the integrity of this barrier. Raw honey is a natural humectant with osmotic properties that draw water into the stratum corneum and hold it there. But unlike synthetic humectants that sit on the surface, honey's molecular profile allows it to integrate into the lipid matrix between your skin cells, the mortar between the bricks, and support the structural organization of the barrier itself. A study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology documented that topical honey application significantly improved barrier function and reduced transepidermal water loss. Not temporarily, structurally. The barrier physically strengthened over consistent use. My grandmother did not know the term transepidermal water loss. She knew that when she woke up after sleeping with honey on her face, her skin felt different, softer, more supple, more like skin that was holding on to something it normally lost during the night. She was right. She just did not have the vocabulary. The second mechanism is anti-inflammatory. This is the one that matters most for mature skin, and the one that no drugstore night cream replicates at any price. Your skin, after about age 35, enters a state that the research literature calls inflammaging, a chronic, low-grade inflammatory condition in the dermis that is not visible as redness or irritation in the way you would recognize inflammation. It is subtle, persistent, and it is quietly degrading your collagen, weakening your elastin, accelerating every visible sign of aging at a pace that is directly proportional to how active the inflammation is. Every morning you look in the mirror and see skin that seems to have aged slightly overnight. A little less firm, a little less vibrant, fine lines a little more pronounced than they were yesterday. That is inflammaging. It runs continuously. It accelerates during sleep when certain inflammatory pathways are more active. And most night creams do absolutely nothing about it because most night creams never reach the dermis where the inflammation is occurring. Raw honey contains compounds that directly inhibit the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, the signaling molecules that drive this chronic inflammatory state. These compounds are small enough to penetrate the stratum corneum and reach the upper dermis. They work while you sleep, during the exact biological window when your skin's repair mechanisms are most active, not replacing those mechanisms, but amplifying them, reducing the inflammatory burden that was slowing them down. This is why my grandmother's skin did not age the way her peers' skin aged. Not because she had better genetics, not because she avoided the sun, because she did not. She gardened every day without sunscreen for decades. Because every night for over 50 years, while the chronic inflammation in her dermis was trying to degrade her collagen, a thin layer of raw honey was quietly suppressing the inflammatory signals that drove that degradation. 50 years of nightly anti-inflammatory intervention at $2 a jar, with no side effects, no irritation, no barrier disruption, just a slow, steady, compounding protection that added up to skin that looked 20 years younger than it had any right to. The third mechanism is antimicrobial, and this one matters if you deal with any level of breakouts, congestion, or the kind of low-grade textural unevenness that makes your skin look rough in certain light even when you are not actively breaking out. The glucose oxidase in raw honey produces low levels of hydrogen peroxide continuously when the honey contacts the moisture on your skin. This is not the hydrogen peroxide you buy at the drugstore. That concentration would damage your skin. This is a slow, controlled, ultra-low concentration release that manages the bacterial environment on your face overnight without disrupting your microbiome. It does not sterilize. It regulates. It keeps the bacterial populations that cause breakouts and congestion in check, while allowing the beneficial microorganisms that support skin health to remain undisturbed. This selective antimicrobial action is something that no synthetic preservative or antibacterial ingredient in commercial skincare achieves. Benzoyl peroxide kills everything. Antibiotics kill broadly. Honey manages selectively. The result is a skin surface that is cleaner in the morning without being stripped, a microbial environment that supports clarity rather than driving the cycle of congestion and breakout that follows aggressive antibacterial treatment. The fourth mechanism, and the one that produces the visible change women notice first, is enzymatic exfoliation. Raw honey contains natural alpha-hydroxy acids and enzymatic compounds that provide a gentle, continuous exfoliation of the outermost dead skin cells while you sleep. Not the aggressive chemical exfoliation of a glycolic acid peel that strips layers and triggers sensitivity. A slow, mild, overnight dissolution of the surface cells that cause dullness, uneven light reflection, and that rough texture you can feel when you run your fingertips across your cheeks. You wake up and the first thing you notice is the smoothness. Not artificially smooth, genuinely smooth. The texture of skin that has been gently refined overnight, without any of the tightness, redness, or sensitivity that follows conventional exfoliation. My grandmother called it her face feeling like new in the morning. The research calls it enhanced desquamation of the stratum corneum. Same thing, different language, same result for 50 years. Here is your protocol. Buy raw, unfiltered honey. This is critical. Not regular commercial honey, not the honey in the plastic squeeze bottle, not honey that has been pasteurized or ultra-filtered. Raw honey. It will say raw on the label. It will appear cloudy or slightly opaque, not perfectly clear. The clouding is the pollen, the enzymes, the bioactive compounds that pasteurization destroys. Available at any grocery store, health food store, farmer's market, or online retailer. A jar costs between $5 and $10 and will last you 2 to 3 months of nightly use. Less than $4 a month, less than the cost of a single sheet mask. Every evening, after your full cleanse, your usual cleanser, lukewarm water, completely clean skin with no makeup, no SPF, no residual product. Take approximately 1 teaspoon of raw honey and warm it between your fingertips for 5 seconds. The warmth thins the honey slightly and makes it easier to spread in a thin, even layer. Apply it to your entire face. Avoid the eye area. Not because honey is harmful to the eyes, but because honey near the lash line can migrate overnight and cause your eyelids to feel sticky in the morning, which is uncomfortable. Cover forehead, cheeks, nose, chin, jawline, and neck if you want to extend the treatment. The layer should be thin enough that it is slightly tacky to the touch, but not dripping. You are not applying a mask, you are applying a treatment layer. Leave it on. Go to sleep. If you are concerned about your pillowcase, use an old pillowcase or lay a clean towel over your pillow. After the first few nights, you will find that the honey absorbs more than you expected. By morning, the layer is mostly absorbed into the skin. What remains is a thin residue that rinses off instantly with lukewarm water. In the morning, rinse with lukewarm water. No cleanser needed for the rinse. The honey dissolves completely in water. Pat dry with a clean towel. That is the protocol. 1 ingredient, 30 seconds to apply. 8 hours of active treatment while you sleep. Here is what you will experience. Morning 1. The smoothness will surprise you. Run your fingertips across your cheek. The texture is different. Not coated, not artificially soft, but genuinely refined. The gentle enzymatic exfoliation has removed the layer of dead cells that was making your skin feel rough and look dull. Your skin reflects light differently. There is an evenness that was not there yesterday. This is the most immediately visible result, and it happens the very first night. Morning 3 to 4. The hydration change becomes evident. Your skin feels different at a deeper level. Not just the surface smoothness, but a suppleness underneath. That morning tightness you may have accepted as normal, the feeling that your skin needs moisturizer immediately after washing, will be noticeably less. The barrier is stronger. It is holding water more effectively overnight. You are waking up with hydration that used to be gone by the time you finished drying your face. Morning 7. This is where the cumulative change becomes visible to other people. The inflammatory reduction that has been happening quietly in the dermis every night starts to show. The low-grade redness that you assumed was just your skin tone has softened. Fine lines, particularly around the eyes and the mouth, the areas where dehydration exaggerates depth, are less pronounced in the morning and stay less pronounced longer through the day. Your skin has a quality that is difficult to name but impossible to miss. Calm, settled, luminous in the way that only comes from skin that is genuinely healthy rather than cosmetically improved. By week 3 to 4, the change compounds. Women who follow this protocol consistently describe it the same way. They say their skin behaves differently. It reacts less. It recovers faster from irritation. Breakouts become less frequent because the microbial balance is consistently managed overnight. Makeup sits differently because the surface underneath it is smoother and more hydrated. The overall quality of the skin, its density, its evenness, its light, shifts in a way that builds quietly and then becomes the new normal. By month 2 to 3, you understand what my grandmother understood. That the simplest possible intervention, applied with absolute consistency, produces results that no complex routine matches. Not because simplicity is inherently superior, because this particular ingredient addresses 4 biological mechanisms simultaneously: barrier repair, inflammation control, microbial management, and gentle exfoliation, in a single application, at the right concentration, during the biological window when your skin is most receptive to all 4. No $60 night cream does that. Most do not even attempt more than 1. I want to address the 2 concerns that come up every time I share this protocol. First, will honey cause breakouts? Raw honey is non-comedogenic. Its antimicrobial properties actively support a healthy pore environment. For mature skin, where the primary concerns are dryness, barrier damage, fine lines, and inflammation, honey does not cause breakouts. It prevents the conditions that lead to them. If you have active inflammatory acne, the honey will not aggravate it. But you should combine it with a targeted acne protocol, which other videos on this channel cover specifically. Second, is this sticky and uncomfortable to sleep in? The first night, yes, it feels unusual. By the 3rd night, you do not notice it. The honey absorbs significantly within the first hour. By morning, what remains is minimal. The results on morning 1 are dramatic enough that the minor adjustment to sleeping with a thin layer on your face stops feeling like a compromise and starts feeling like the most intelligent thing you do for your skin all day. My grandmother never questioned it. She applied it every night the way she brushed her teeth, automatically, without debate, because the evidence was in her mirror every morning for 50 years. If you have stayed through this entire video, you have a protocol that costs $2, takes 30 seconds, and addresses more biological mechanisms in a single overnight application than most women's entire evening routines combined. You understand why it works, not because your grandmother said so, not because Dr. Redmond said so, but because you now understand the 4 mechanisms operating inside your skin every night and how raw honey supports every one of them simultaneously. That is what this channel is built on. The research exists. The ingredient is simple. The cost is honest. And you deserve to have it explained clearly, without a product to sell you, without a brand partnership shaping the recommendation, without anyone between you and the information except someone who wants your skin to get better. If this is the video that finally makes you try the thing your grandmother tried to tell you about years ago, share it with a woman in your life who needs it. A friend who has been spending hundreds on night creams that coat the surface and do nothing underneath. A daughter who is starting to build her routine and deserves to start with the right foundation. A sister who is tired of the cycle of buying and hoping and being disappointed. $2. One ingredient. Tonight. Subscribe to Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women. Every video on this channel follows the same principle. Find the research. Remove the commercial noise. Give you the protocol. The next video is already waiting. It covers the single morning ingredient that protects everything your skin repaired overnight. A shield that costs less than $1 and that every woman over 35 should be applying before she leaves the house. Not sunscreen. Something your skin needs before sunscreen even goes on. I will see you there.